Welcome back. My name is Tis. I'm a meditation instructor and I have a lot of experience editing and reading and investigating the content in these esoteric manuscripts. And this one is quite good. It's not my favorite, but I don't regret not reading it because there is information in this book that is not found elsewhere. And that to me is the mark of a good book. It becomes indispensable to read the book because if you don't read this book, you won't find the information elsewhere. And if you try to find this information by meditation, by going inwardly, it could take you a very long time. You might not even know to ask the question. Because in this book, for example, he talks about putting your bare feet on the earth. And I did this for 10 days in a row and it changed me, like permanently. And I never really thought to even do this, but this book introduced me to that technique of doing it from sunrise to 10 a.m. for 50 minutes, in case you're wondering. But I don't want to talk about that in this video. I want to talk about what I dare say is the most important point here. Now, most people's lives are full of preoccupations, worries, confusion. According to Yogananda, that's because they don't do the Sabbath. And Jesus says here that people won't see the Father. Now, the Father is the provider of direction, guidance, orientation, resources, all the things we need. He says you won't see these things unless you do the Sabbath, which means that you have to devote one day a week to the awakening of your consciousness. Practically speaking, it means that you should pick a day. Ideally, it would be a Saturday. But pick a day and meditate for at least 6 hours. Now, have I done this? Yes. Have I done this every Saturday or every week? No, I haven't. And I've suffered as a result. And I'm doing this video as a precautionary tale so that the people watching this who are aware of this book and aware of these teachings, that they don't sort of make my mistake. Because we have to make many decisions. Sometimes these decisions are very critical in life. And if we don't observe the Sabbath, we oftentimes will make the wrong decision. Okay, so what does this book say about this? Well, see, that's why this book isn't the best of the esoteric books. But here, the Lord God of Truth Within, M, his name, he writes that the second power in the world is money. In this world, money, and the first is wisdom. Now, wisdom is first, money is second. If you look at people's lives, what are they doing? Listening to podcasts, reading books, reading the newspaper, watching YouTube videos in the hope that they will get wisdom. But in this book it says that you gain little from that knowledge. You have to go within. And here, Jesus is saying the same thing. He says, first, if you don't fast as regards the world, meaning, worldly knowledge and worldly information, sources of information. There's just so much noise in the world, like newspapers, news. If you don't fast as regards this information, you won't find the kingdom. So it's counterintuitive. You think that by seeking wisdom, by watching television, watching movies and listening to podcasts, you'll find the kingdom, you'll find the wisdom. But the real wisdom is within. I think we know this. And this is a problem. We have to get away from this intellectual thirst, this intellectual hunger that we want to constantly read. It's good to want knowledge, but it's better to want knowledge from the right sources than to want it from the world. So the second thing here is he says to observe the Sabbath, otherwise you won't see the Father. The Father is a provider of orientation, direction, guidance, the resources. The Father is also a provider of the spouse. If you're not married, the Father provides that. And what do people do instead of observing the Sabbath? They work. They're always going after the money. Every day of the week, they're searching for knowledge, searching for money, searching for knowledge, searching for money. It's those two things that keep us in this rat race, I believe. And we just got to let go and go within and learn how to do that. It takes time. From my experience, it takes really at least 10 days to even get to the first stage of concentration where you can actually go within. But I found this connection between the Gospel of Thomas here and this book here. So the advice in this video, now, do I recommend you read this book? It does contain some indispensable information you won't find elsewhere, but there are better books than this. If you have a look at my review, Bainsa is the first sort of like recommendation if you're searching. He's incredible. Mark Atwood will be releasing some incredible books. His knowledge is kind of an updated version of Samael's information. Because Samael himself, if you only rely on Samael, I found that people they're unable to work with Samael's information because it's just too... He was great at doing it, not great at teaching it, in my opinion. I could say that for most teachers. The Flight of the Feathered Serpent, essential, because what he goes into here, the details are just, wow, it's amazing. And I didn't put it here because he's being blocked on social media. Anthony Williams should be here. But this is really, the reason I mention these authors is because they contain clues and tips and information that you won't find elsewhere, and it's essential stuff. So get into it. Now, you can find all the quotes I took from this book. It's incredible. You can go to createtheone.com, and I extracted a whole chapter for you to read. It's called The Yoga Theory of Peace. So if you want to read a chapter from this book to find out whether this book is for you or not, go to createtheone.com and you'll find it here. I can open it up for you. Yeah, it's just here, as you can see. This was written in 1941. So, you can buy the book, you can download it for free. I used to give this book away for free. A lot of people were interested in downloading it for free. I'll probably put it back up online soon. But I haven't really received any donations on the website, so that costs money to do that, like for me to actually get it down. I mean, I could just put up the PDF, I guess, but yeah. So the practical... So you can see that people are always searching for wisdom and for money, and that distracts them from awakening their consciousness. And Jesus highlighted that here. This is arguably the most important secret saying of Jesus in the Gospel of Thomas. Because if you really get into all these other sayings and apply them, that's great. But if you don't observe the Sabbath, forget it. That's what he's saying here. And this really is the key that turns the door. If you don't devote 1 day a week to meditation, 1 day a week to your soul, you just, from my experience, there's confusion, there's just not, the things that you need are just not there. And if you constantly engage in the world and worldly information, you just don't really get to the essential, because there's just too much taking, not enough. The taking outweighs the giving, because you could go online and spend hours, because it's kind of infinite, the amount of knowledge that's on there. You could just spend an eternity online just looking for wisdom. So yeah, that's the connection, guys. That's what I found here. And there's a few other things I could talk about in this book, but I think that's the most important thing. Everything else is secondary, really. I mean, you have to develop your mind, these things, but this here, especially the Sabbath, this is really where it's at. Because, to make the right decisions, to marry the right person, to take the right job, to live in the right country, that requires personal guidance, which you will receive if you do the Sabbath. You won't receive it if you're just engaged only in books and worldly information. There's no book on this planet telling you who you should marry. So, and what job you should take. So that's personal stuff, and the Father will tell you that if you harmonize yourself with him. So, look, all the best. I'm going to do some more book reviews stay tuned. I'm going to try to connect dots for you so that you don't have to, you know, spend years trying to figure this stuff out for yourself.